live on the air. I'm Richard Saile.
This is wild.
Hello, welcome back to another episode of Lounge Time. I'm your host, Rich Saile, and today, Superman is back smoking on that historic defense of the Houston Texans pack with a goal mask. No, it's not for you, Chief Bandwagons. No, because y'all thought you had the baby goat. Superman came to save the day. Yep. He's on his way. He's on his way. We'll bring it back later. Hello, welcome back to another episode of Lounge Time. I'm your host, Rich Saile. And today, divisional round weekend is done. We have a lot to cover. I am animated as ever because there is a lot to cover from these four games. I gave my pick for Miami, Indiana on Friday, so we're not going to talk much about it on this episode, but I'm going to do a special episode later tonight or early Tuesday morning, depending on what time I record it, on this game, and then we will go back to the typical Friday episode. It might get put out to Saturday morning because I actually have something to cover on Friday, so I'll let you guys know later in the week what day that'll be. I'm looking to probably get a guest too, maybe for the back half of the week. But that's an update there. Anyway, we have a lot to get into. A lot of big news happened for teams that played this past weekend. One injury that I just got word of now, reading on my screen. And another head coaching job opens. So without further ado, let's get to the big news first, which actually is the first game we're starting with, and that is the Denver Broncos beating the Buffalo Bills in overtime, arguably the best game of the weekend. And the aftermath is the Bills firing Sean McDermott as their head coach and promoting Brandon Beane to be their president of football operations. A lot to unpack here. Let's start with the game itself, because I had to go out for the second half of the game. I managed to watch it from the road, and I did not miss it because I knew that this could be the next opponent for the New England Patriots on Championship Sunday. So I knew, I'm like, okay, I got to watch this game. Second half, even if I'm out, I got to watch. So, pulling up the numbers here, and I'm going to be honest. I thought Denver played pretty well in the first half. Really, after the opening drive touchdown, I thought they got in a better rhythm in the second quarter, particularly because they were able to get Bo Nix comfortable. They were able to get him into some favorable passing situations where they were able to use his legs a little bit more on some kind of those quarterback option runs where it was kind of like those speed options to the outside, but it was kind of like a QB power, like up, like in between the guard and the tackle. They got a little bit of that going. And little Jordan Humphrey, he had the one touchdown right in his hands that missed it early. He ended up catching one late in the first half. Marvin Mims ended up catching one. I believe that was the one in the second half. They had the offensive lineman touchdown that was kind of on like one of those like delay routes where he kind of sneaks out and then kind of pops open. Hey, Bo, I'm open. And he throws it there. So I thought Denver offensively settled much better in the second quarter after getting off to such a rocky start. They had a good opening drive, just Humphrey had the touchdown in his hands, and that ended up being one of the big plays in the game before overtime. That was in the first half, early in the first half. And I thought Bo Nix did a pretty good job of just managing the game, and then he made some throws when he had to in the first half. So I thought the second quarter was a good bright spot for Denver. Now the second half, after the fumble that they got on Josh Allen and they kicked the field goal, that's when I felt like they started to get a little rocky. Well, it was actually not a field goal; it was a touchdown, actually. Or I'm right. It was a field goal because they had the touchdown before Josh Allen kicked the field goal to overtime. Now, when they went up 13, I'm like, okay, this is where Denver wants to be. And then it's like, okay, Josh, what are you going to do? Well, he gets going in a rhythm on offense, and Keon Coleman, he ended up getting one pass like up to the left corner of the end zone. He ended up catching one, and then they got Kincaid over the middle, which was big. So for him, that was a big thing. And then I think, the Harmon touchdown was early in the first half. So, it was the Keon Coleman and Kincaid touchdowns. That put them up by 1, and I'm going, fuck, here we go. It's the Bills' year, and I'm like, great. This dude's about to ruin the Patriots' playoff hopes. And mind you, I didn't think that at the time, but I was starting to think, if we get by Houston, this man's going to ruin us. That's what I was thinking live. And then Denver, Bo Nix turned into the guy clutch in the fourth quarter when he has to make throws. He made them. And he had that nice touchdown pass up the sideline and gave them the lead. That one was to Marvin Mims, I believe. And I hope I'm correct on that. And I'm going to actually go through to make sure I'm right. And this is how I'll know I'm accurate. Ready? Let's see how I did. Yep. So far. Yep. Right on cue. 26 yards out. And I'm like, okay. Comes down to one stop. This defense was top 2, top 3 in a lot of categories. Josh Allen goes down, leads them to a tying field goal from Matt Prater, former Bronco. And then overtime happens, and the play everybody is irate about in Buffalo, and those that, are upset about the play that should have been a catch or an interception. Rich, what's your take on it? Well, I'm going to tell you what my take is. It's the right call. You know why? Because it's like similar rulings I've seen in the 16 years I've been watching football. You know how I know I've been a fan since 2009 season, okay? So I'm in 16 years, all right? I've seen the Calvin Johnson rule. I've seen the Des Bryant catch. I've seen the Jesse James touchdown. And I can tell you, watching that play live on the small screen on my iPhone, he did not have full possession of the ball going down, and the defender kind of, like, as he's flipping up, comes away with the ball. And I want to say this, and you Bills fans don't want to admit this shit, but I'm going to tell you, we had a similar play in the game in Gillette, in New England, Week 15, yet, what did they call? They called it a pick. So, now you want to get mad when it doesn't go your way a second time, and you're like, oh, that was a catch. Do you remember what happened when Tre'Davious White picked Drake May off, and that should have been the receiver's ball? Yeah, karma comes back to bite you pretty bad. Yup, right call, because Cooks does not have full possession of it. He does not. McMillan gets the ball late as he pulls it, as he's trying to flip back, and he gets it. And honestly, I had no problem with that call at all. No problem. And you're probably going to be like, well, Rich, you obviously weren't rooting for the Bills. You root for the Broncos. Yeah, well, they called it a pick for the Bills in the meeting in Gillette. So what changed? Nothing changed. And then they want to go irate about the Devontae Adams catch, which that felt like a catch the whole way. I mean, 50-50. I mean, I know in previous instances when it's a 50-50 ball, tie-up goes to the receiver. This game, the Bills-Broncos, that was not a tie-up. He didn't have possession, and the defender has the ball as he's moving up and flipping up this way. That's why I'm like, no, that's the right call. It'd be one thing if it was like both were like parallel and like they were both like right there, which I don't know if that's physically possible, but you get what I'm saying, right? Where like if they're both going down in the same direction, right? That's a tie-up where the receivers got it. In this case, one is up and one is under. So clearly, the guy that's above it and flips down is going to get possession. So that was the right call. I don't have an issue with that. Now, to the ramifications of Sean McDermott being fired. But let's give the Broncos credit because at times in this game, I thought they were in serious trouble, and they managed to withstand it. And this is a team that, surprisingly now, Bo Nix being out for the playoffs, which that's another big storyline in this game. This is why I wanted to start with this game, not just because it was the first game. There's so many storylines that happen with it. The Broncos showed a lot in this game, and I feel like that they finally had that game where they proved they needed the bye. Sean Payton got things right on offense going with Bo Nix. Their running game did okay. I thought they had some solid runs on the edge that really helped them a little bit. Even inside, they had some decent runs. And I thought Bo Nix was able to stress down that secondary of the Bills, and he made some big-time throws. He really did. And honestly, that was a really good sign for him because I was worried about him with the way the offense was looking against the Chargers and the Chiefs with a third-string quarterback. And even the Commanders, they didn't look all that great. And it was a great sign for them. And the fact that they looked like an offense that could execute well under pressure and they made the critical throws and plays that they needed, that's a good sign for them. But with this game comes bad news as well. Losing Bo Nix. Now, you got to talk about this, Rich, because the Patriots played Denver on Sunday. Yes, we're going to. How do I feel about it? Well, it sucks. One, I want everybody's best shot. I do, to be fair, okay? Now, it sucks that it happened in a playoff game because I know if it was Bo Nix, Drake May, it would have been a great storyline because of the same quarterback class. It would have been, three quarterbacks. Could have been four if Caleb won last night, but he didn't. That three quarterbacks in last year's class would have at least started in a conference championship game by year 2. And that would have been cool to have two of them going at it for a chance to win the AFC and a right to go to the Super Bowl and possibly win it. That would have been a fun storyline, but you know what? It's brutal. And again, I don't want to throw shade on the Broncos because I know I've said this year I'm not the biggest Bo Nix fan. I think he's all right. And I gave him his flowers for this game. He played really well. I wanted to see him healthy because I wanted to see two teams that were the top two in the AFC seeding-wise go head-to-head full strength. And I think if you're a real fan, you want to see everybody's full strength at best. So yeah, you do. You do. And honestly speaking, like, it sucks, but at least he went out in a game where he won and he did well. And the bad news is Jarrett Stidham has a week to get ready for a team he's all too well familiar with. The team that drafted him, the New England Patriots. So Sean Payton, he's got a tough assignment to figure out, okay, how do we protect Jarrett Stidham with what we've got on offense? Well, they're going to run the ball with R.J. Harvey and Jaleel McLaughlin. They got competent receivers, Pat Bryant, Cortland Sutton, Marvin Mims. So they've got players. Their defense is their calling card as far as they are the top unit, the strength of this team. And then they're a pretty good offensive line too, Denver. They're a pretty good offensive line. So they've got the home field in this game. Sean Payton is going to find a way to protect Jarrett Stidham in this game from being the reason that Denver does not lose the game. I'm sure of this. That's why I want to save it more for when I get to New England because that's really where I'm going to have a lot of my talking points there. But give the Broncos credit. I think their defense, though, albeit against Josh Allen, I was not all the way impressed with certain things. I felt like that Allen exploited a lot of holes within their defense. They played a lot of man in the first half, and Josh Allen was cooking man. He was. They had a lot he was cooking with. And then when they went to zone, he kind of still picked you apart, even in zone. And I feel like with them, it is Josh Allen, and yes, he put on a game where he did not play his best. but he also didn't play too terrible. Okay? But it was definitely one of his worst playoff games. Let's not dismiss that in any way. So, but he still found a way to keep it close and get into overtime. And again, I feel like the fact that Josh Allen picked them apart with a receiving core that everybody kept telling me, oh, they're not that great. Well, he fucking put 30 points up, so they must have found something. And the Broncos defense, everybody kept telling me, is really, really good. And they are. They are. But to struggle with that receiving core because of Allen, I don't know how to make of that, really. I don't know. And I mean, they gave up 27 to Washington with Marcus Mariota. Trevor Lawrence lit them up. I'm just saying, they are really good, but we've seen them get torched recently, and nobody wants to admit it but this guy. But everybody wants to claim that, I don't know ball. Well, no, I do. No, I do. And I have a little segment for the New England one that I can't wait to debut. But we'll give the Broncos credit. They won the game. They made the critical plays. They won the turnover battle. Yet, even in overtime, Bo Nix made the throws when it mattered, and they won the game. Now, they got a tall task to win with a backup in Mile High, and the AFC still goes through Denver at the time. Now to the Bills, the losers. You kind of knew if they lost this game where the blame was going to be pointed. It was going to be pointed at Sean McDermott because the defense always comes up short and gets exposed time after time after time after time in the playoffs. And what happened again? You give up 33 points to the Bo Nix Broncos, an offense that did not look good the second half of this season for the most part, and you give them 33 points. That's your calling card, and you got torched. Mind you, the Bills were the number 1 ranked pass defense in the regular season. So, clearly, they got torched. And the biggest thing was, well, it was Mahomes all those times in the playoffs and Joe Burrow. Well, my point last week, the only quarterbacks before Saturday to beat Josh Allen outside of Mahomes were Joe Burrow and Deshaun Watson. Now add Bo Nix to that club. But again, Sean McDermott's specialty got exposed. The number 1 defense against the pass in the regular season was not very good Saturday. It was not. And they gave up big plays, and they really didn't get to Bo Nix that much. I mean, that was a lucky pick by Deion Walker. That was so lucky. I mean, again, like I said, that defense in the playoffs, they always unravel at the worst time. And I know Sean McDermott's standing up for Buffalo and stuff, but you had to know you were somewhat cooked, right? That you got fired. You had to know it. I mean, you weren't going anywhere. And again, they're wasting big years of Josh Allen. And now, I didn't bring this up Saturday because I didn't want to be this guy, but I'm going to bring it up now. Josh Allen is heading towards being the next Dan Marino of this generation. And all great quarterbacks do not win a Super Bowl. Dan Marino is the top of the list. Jim Kelly, Frank Tarkenton. Now I go into other really good names. Dan Fouts, Warren Moon, Phillip Rivers never won one. Okay, so is Josh Allen going to join that club? It might be, guys. It might be. I mean, the Bills, I thought at moments it was their year, and I'm like, fuck. But nope. And I have one little fun note to have fun with. Do you remember the Haley Seinfeld tweet or the little video where she says, it's Josh Allen and the Bills' 3 sons? Well, one of those sons made the AFC Championship game this season, and wait, the Bills did it. Oh, man, I'm going to have fun with this. And yet, what can go wrong for them will go wrong. The Buffalo curse still lives on, man. And it sucks, but you know what? I try to tell you guys the one area with them was that their defense is very shaky in the postseason, and that's what came back to bite them. And Sean McDermott always chokes in big games, and unfortunately that's why he's gone. But again, I do think Sean McDermott will land a job. I do. I just feel like, to me, that the Bills were going nowhere, and somebody had to take heat. Now, do they want to blame Brandon Beane for a degree with how they built the roster? That's your call on what you want to do. But McDermott was going to get blamed because the defense is a specialty, and time after time after time, they choke in the playoffs. No matter who they verse, since they've cleaned the division. But not this year. The New England Patriots have the AFC East. So the one time you have to go on the road, you still can't go anywhere. And once again, he's getting scapegoated for a situation that some people should say that it should be on Brandon Beane for not really making the right moves around Josh Allen. But again, Sean McDermott will land a job. I'm not worried about it. And the Bills, they'll be fine. Let me guess, they're going to elevate Joe Brady. So let's see. Let's see who they end up with, because now that's the biggest head coaching job opening in the NFL. Let's go to the 49ers Seahawks. Now, I'm going to be honest, I'm not even going to go by numbers with this game. I'm not, because I quickly watched this game on my phone while I was out, and then I came back really late. And by the time I came back really late, they put Drew Lock and the backups in. So I basically just watched up until they put the backups in, because I'm going to be honest, I didn't want to watch the Seahawks backups yet, and because that game was over. This was the most dominating performance and the biggest statement of the entire weekend, I think. And shout out to one of my loyal subscribers who is commenting in my comment sections a lot, and shout out to him. He's a Seahawks fan. Shout out to Animal Wing. You guys look damn good. You guys look good, Seattle. They do. I got a couple of other friends that are Seahawks fans. Y'all look really good. I was impressed. I mean, defensively, outside of Houston, this is the scariest defense left in the field. Out of the Final Four, without a doubt. And what Mike Macdonald did to Kyle Shanahan, I told you guys on Friday. He has been the one guy that somehow figures out Shanahan's schemes and has his way for the most part. And I don't know how it happens, but he just finds a way. And it was funny when I was watching the game, Purdy was 4-0 at Seattle, and I was like, wait, so Mike Macdonald's won all his games in Frisco, but not in Seattle? I thought it would have been the other way around going in. I was like, wow, okay. So Purdy's got a good record in Seattle. That's a good thing for him. And then I was like, wow, so Mike Macdonald's wins against the Niners since he became the head coach have both been in Santa Clara. Interesting. So the way I knew they were going to stop him was exactly the way it was 2 weeks ago when they met on the Saturday to decide the NFC West. And it was basically a similar feel. And it was even difficult without George Kittle. And honestly, it was rough. I mean, the kickoff by Shaheed, that set the whole energy and way of the game it was going to go. And you knew from there, this is not going to go well. And they had a bunch of picks on Purdy. They had a horrible fourth down call, which was like some option to use check where they were trying to pitch it out to McCaffrey. I was like, Kyle Shanahan, I know you're a great play caller, but that's the play you run on 4th and 1 that early in the game? No. I don't like that at all. No. So, and then from there, I mean, Kenneth Walker ran down the 49ers defense throats into the teeth of the middle, and they had no answer. None. And honestly, if they play exactly like they did Saturday night, I don't know how you stop that team offensively. Because Sam Darnold didn't even have to do anything. He just handed the ball to Kenneth Walker and was like, cook. And that offensive line bullied, mauled through that 49er defense and said, you can't do anything about it, and they let them have it. And the Niners had no chance. The game was over by halftime. It was. It was over by halftime. And honestly, Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet, who surprisingly is out for the rest of the postseason from what I have just read on my screen. That was the injury that I said in the beginning that I found out. That's a big loss because they have been splitting the two backs this whole season. And Kenneth Walker had 19 carries, 116 yards, 3 touchdowns. Now he's going to get 20-plus carries. If Seattle plans to run the ball like they did on Saturday night, well, now he's going to get 20 to 25 carries because now he's the bell cow. So, again, they didn't even throw much. They had the one touchdown in the back corner of the end zone where it was Jackson Smith and Jigba where he kind of crossed through the safety's face. I don't know how the safety did not play to that side because he had a cushion where if Darnold let it right, which he did, let it right to the left side. And, yep, that was basically when that game was in trouble. But Kenneth Walker, 3 touchdowns, 116 yards, yep, 19 carries. He is going to have a big role in the Seahawks offense if they are to advance to Santa Clara, but it's going to be a tough one because we're going to preview both of those matchups on Friday. Talking about them gets me excited, but I'm going to say this. This is a tough offense if you get that running game going, and then you got Cooper Kupp, JSN, and you get Smith and Jigba, and that offensive line's playing well. Good luck. Because that team, and especially that defense, the way they were playing, oh my God, I was like, is that the 2013 team again, but younger? And now again, that 2013 team had a lot of really good players, and I remember that team because that was the one Super Bowl. I'm kind of glad New England didn't win that AFC Championship game because I knew, no way. All right? And I knew when they played Peyton Manning, I'm like, okay, this is where we see if they're really that great, and they did. Okay. Cliff Averill, Michael Bennett, okay? I remember Bobby Wagner really young. Malcolm Smith was Super Bowl MVP. You obviously know the Legion of Boom, Richard Sherman, Byron Maxwell, Brandon Browner, Earl Thomas, Cam Chancellor, KJ Wright was the young linebacker on that team. They had not even dogs. They had dudes on that team. Hall of Fame level players. This team has a lot of really good players. They do. DeMarcus Lawrence is very good. Okay? They've got guys that Ernest Jones, he was on the Rams. He's coincidentally playing his old team on Sunday. Okay? Devon Witherspoon, really, really good corner. All right? Nick Amanawari, who one of my favorite players in the draft this past year, they got him. They have a lot of guys, and I want to make sure I shout these guys out because these guys on defense, guys, they're really good. Okay? And, again, Jaron Reed, Byron Murphy II, Leonard Williams, I forgot. Leonard Williams was on the Giants and the Jets. And Seattle gets him, and he had a sack on Saturday night. Okay? Boya Mafe was, he's been a good player for them. All right, Kobe Bryant, I remember from, believe it was, hold on, there's 2 Kobe Bryants. There's the one from Kansas, and then there's the one from Cincinnati. I think it's still the one from Cincinnati. Yes. Julian Love, former Giant. Okay, Tariq Woolen was a corner. Now he's still a corner. Josh Jobe from Alabama. These guys, ladies and gentlemen, they are really, really good. Okay, and they're well on their way to cementing themselves, to me, as now definitely the best defense in the field, but one of the really, really good defenses that I've seen within the last 10 years for sure. This is a really, really good unit. Number 1 scoring defense from what I remember reading off on Friday when giving the breakdown to the Niners. Once again, the injury bug continues to plague them. And it's been CMC some years. Trent Williams was banged up, but he came back Saturday. George Kittle's been banged up. This year they lost Nick Bosa. They lost Mykel Williams. Fred Warner has been hurt a couple times. Every year, the injury bug always plagues this team, and somehow, some way, they either miss the playoffs or they make the field and they just win a game, or they go to the championship game, or they lose in the Super Bowl to the Chiefs. And Kyle Shanahan, you knew it was going to catch up with them at some point. And I don't blame Kyle Shanahan all that much for this game. Seattle was clearly a better team over the last two meetings. It was. Okay? They've got to figure out how to keep these guys healthy for the long haul. All right? Now, I have no doubt they'll address their offseason needs. They're going to be fine. But you really just wonder that how are they going to be able to sustain a team that can be healthy for the postseason? Because they have players that can do it. But you just wonder, with all these injuries, are they going to be able to make it to a point where they are going to win a Super Bowl with Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch? And I think that they eventually will. But the problem will be now they got to go get another receiver because Brandon Ayuk is done with them. They're done. CMC, he's not a guy like a Derrick Henry or an Adrian Peterson back in the day that takes a bunch of carries and the beatings. He's not that type of guy. He's more aligned with like the Marshall Faulk, LaDainian Tomlinson type of style where you can give him 20 carries, but you need to get him 10 touches out of the backfield. He can't take 35, 40 carries and expect you to win a Super Bowl that way. He's not Derrick Henry and Adrian Peterson in that regard. And I know he did some kind of thing when he was like, I think he was rehabbing up in Germany last offseason. And I know he did that, which helped him, for the most part, stay healthy. But at some point, you can't put everything on him. He's got to be able to get some compliments when healthy. And this roster, for the most part, has just not been able to stay healthy when it comes down to the biggest moments. And that's the biggest what if in these recent years. George Kittle hurt. Debo leaves to go to Washington. Well, they thought Ayuk would be the guy. He quits on them. They lose Purdy 3 years ago in the championship game to the Eagles. That's a big what if, right? Kyle Shanahan blows 2 fourth quarters against Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. And then 21, a drop pick away from flipping the whole outcome of that game and changing history, which would have been Bengals-Niners round 3 all-time in the Super Bowl. And who knows who would have won that game. And you just really go, you're like, dang, man, he really is the Andy Reid before he won a championship of this generation. And I still feel like Kyle Shanahan, he'll find his way to get back there, but that division is tough. They're going to always battle out, but you got 3 really damn good coaches and organizations in that division for years to come, and it's going to be very, very interesting to watch that unfold. But the Niners, you knew it was going to catch up to them at some point. The dam finally broke, is what happened. They'll be fine, but they got to find out how to get these injuries to get cleared up and not happen as frequent as it's been. Let's go to yesterday's action where we had the Houston Texans play the New England Patriots, and Superman came to save the day, or it was the defense that stole the show and actually saved the day. To be fair. But Drake May made some key throws in that game. 3 touchdown passes to win. So that's why Superman came to save the day when it came to scoring points. And the defense did a lot of the heavy work, and they answered the call. Now, my most animated subject of the entire day. And I got to get something that I have to pull up because you guys know that I am one to criticize how the media covers certain things. And that's what makes the show different from a lot of other people because I like that way. And I will say this. Oh boy, I got 2 Twitter notifications. This is going to be interesting to see. Oh boy. Oh no. it's not a Patriot fan that liked the reply. It's some guy named Pat Mafraud, and I can't believe this bum actually thinks I actually like the Chiefs in the one reply. You're clearly missing the point. Wait, hold on, Pat Mafraud. Wait. Oh no, wait. We're good. Take that back. No, he's not a Chiefs fan. We're good. Anyway, the reason I like doing this show is I like to cover games a little bit differently as far as teams that deserve more attention to be talked about and what they don't talk about as much. And I have issues with ESPN and the FS1s as to how they want to make the bigger headline about something else rather than giving a team credit. And this was on full display this week. So I went off on Twitter this morning because all I keep hearing about from this negative discourse is, oh, the Patriots, they played two bad teams. I mean, the Chargers and Texans suck. Life isn't fair because the Patriots had to play Justin Herbert, CJ Stroud, and now they're going to play Jarrett Stidham. Get the fuck out of here with that bullshit, blasphemy, asinine shit. No, we're not going to do this. No, you see what we're doing? This is the same fucking media people who twisted it with the Chiefs when they won. No one said dick when they had fucking a cheap fucking playoff run in 2019 when they played the Texans, when no one was scared of that team because we all knew the Texans were never beating them that year. We knew the Titans with Vrabel and Ryan Tannehill with Derrick Henry, they were never beating the Chiefs. No chance. And we knew Kyle Shanahan and the Jimmy Garoppolo Niners, even though they had a really good season that year, we knew they were never going to beat them if they played nuclear, meaning the Chiefs, at their best. We're not going to sit up here and start dismissing how cheap playoff runs are and how unfair it is that they play. No. And I'm going to shut all this fucking shit down right now because I am so animated now because, and I know Nick Saban calls this shit rat poison. I'm not disagreeing. Okay, I took the bait for this. But because I want, this is the point I'm trying to make. We're twisting it now when all the discourse leading into this game was, oh, the Texans defense is historic. They're in the category of the 85 Bears and the 2000 Ravens. No, they were not. This is what ESPN, Mike Greenberg's were saying before this game started. That's what they were saying. The whole NFL Live crew picked the fucking Texans. It's all over Twitter. Go find it. No, we're not going to do this because the Texans lost. What did I say on this show on Friday? CJ Stroud played like terrible against the Steelers because he gave them chance after chance to stay in the game, and he kept saying, take the game, Pittsburgh. I'm playing terrible. And the defense was like, nope. We're taking it in the fourth quarter by scoring 3 touchdowns. And what did I say on Friday after that game? What did I even say Tuesday? What did I say? He's not that good as far as how he played, the eye test wise. Okay? That could happen because if the New England Patriots play like they did against the Chargers, and that Texans O-line is not very good, that can happen again. New England's defense got no respect, and it still does it. And I don't understand why we cannot give them credit for beating 2 top half of the league quarterbacks in the playoffs. Granted, I know one of them has won a playoff game each of his first 3 seasons, and the other guy hasn't. But there's still 2 upper echelon elite quarterbacks. And now all of a sudden the whole discourse is flipped and said, well, Justin Herbert sucks in the playoffs. Well, CJ Stroud, he might not be the Texans quarterback long term because Davis Mills was better for them in certain situations. Get the fuck out of here with this shit. You're not going to, no, because this is what, I knew this was going to happen, and I was prepared for this. Okay? Whatever happened to a win is a win in this league? Does that not matter anymore to the national media? Now it's about what? Oh, well, the other team's quarterback stunk it up. And I'm not saying that shouldn't be a focal point, but to sit up there, who, mind you, ESPN apparently has award-winning people on there, and they have some really good ones. Not all of them are great, though, if I'm being fair. And some knuckleheads on FS1, meaning Nick Wright, who we've criticized on this show numerous times, are we really about to sit up here and let them get away with them flipping the narrative now of, oh, well, the New England Patriots, their easy schedule, it's going to come back to bite them. They haven't faced a team like the Texans all season, which was true. But instead of them actually winning the game and beating two top 10 level defenses, arguably top 5 in some of them, Houston was top 5 all year in a lot of categories. Now all of a sudden the whole thing is, well, they beat CJ Stroud and Justin Herbert. Now they got to face Jared Stidham, and the Chargers and Texans aren't that good. Get the fuck out of here with this bullshit. I'm not sitting for none of this. None of this. You are not taking away my happiness from this. The first time the New England Patriots have made a championship game post Tom Brady and Bill Belichick, and that's the talk that you, national media pundits, are doing? Wow. Wow. This is so lame. This is so lame. You want to talk about easy playoff runs? You want to talk about easy playoff runs? Let me pull up my tweet that I had about an hour or two before I went on to record. Let me read this tweet out loud, okay? Here's some other teams with weak playoff runs nobody wants to mention. And I got them up in the Rich Ball Index, the Rich Ball IQ Index. That's what I'm making my term now, okay? Because this guy's been trying to tell you CJ Stroud has not really looked good from the Steelers game, and that offensive line was atrocious. I said it all week last week, okay? I watched it. That offense scored 10 points through 3 quarters. Everybody want to gloss over and pay attention to the national media. Not this show, apparently, from a lot of people's minds. But now we're putting it on fucking full blast, okay? So here's the easy playoff runs that nobody wants to mention, okay? 2019 Chiefs, for sure. Don't tell me the Texans. Don't tell me the Titans with Tannehill. We all knew those teams had no chance. The 49ers with Jimmy Garoppolo, and they had no chance. That was a team that had no experience going to the Super Bowl, okay? No experience. And they were up 20-10, yes, but we also know Jimmy G was a backup on those Patriot teams. He was not ready to win a Super Bowl at that time. Those teams were weaker than some of the recent teams within easily the last 25, 30 years if you're looking at every single team from those runs on, okay? Here's some easy playoff runs no one wants to talk about. You remember the 89 49ers playoff run? They played the Vikings, who had 3 quarterbacks start for them in a game, and they got blown the fuck out in Candlestick Park. You want to know who those quarterbacks were the Vikings had? Tommy Kramer, Will Wade, and Rich Gannon. They combined for 4 interceptions that game. They won 41-10. That team had no chance against the Niners that year, like a lot of other teams do. Nobody talks about how bad that Vikings team was for when the 89 Niners played them. How about the following week when they played the Rams? We all knew Joe Montana, Jerry Rice, John Taylor, they were never going to lose to the Rams at Candlestick Park. Not with that defense, not with that offense that was so prolific. They were never going to lose to those teams. And then they dismantled the Broncos, who had went to 2 Super Bowls before and lost to the beasts of the East at the time, the 86 Giants and the 87 Redskins. And we damn sure knew that 89 Niners team was never going to lose to the Elway Broncos. Even though that Broncos team was a number 1 defense, they were never going to lose that game. 89 Niners, easy playoff run, number 1. 2019 Chiefs, number 2. Number 3. This is one of my friends' teams. I had him on last week. Vin, I'm sorry, but I got to say this. The 1991 Redskins were easy, playoff run-wise. Really? The Atlanta Falcons in RFK? The Falcons were going to beat an offense that was really, really good that season, if you want to go into analytics and stuff. That was a really good offense. They were never going to lose to the Falcons at home. And then the Lions, who had not really a good quarterback behind with Barry Sanders, they had no shot against the Redskins that year. No shot. So that's number 3 easy playoff runs. Yes, my cousin, I have 3 easy playoff runs for you. I posted it on X. I'm saying it now on the show. And now I have 2 other ones that I could say, well, They're not easy, but you can make somewhat of a case, and I had them when I was thinking out loud a little bit. And this is another one of my friends' teams. Again, I wouldn't say these are easy, but you could kind of make the argument, sort of. And again, when I say these playoff runs, these are teams within their conference up till the Super Bowl, okay? I'd probably put the '08 Steelers in the top 5 easiest playoff runs within the last 25, 30 years. I probably would. I would. The Chargers with Phillip Rivers, LaDainian Tomlinson, in cold weather in Heinz Field with a top defense that year, number 1. That was also a really good defense statistically. They were number 1 in some key categories. Dick LeBeau and them. No. They had the Chargers, no. That was an 8-8 ball team that the only team they knew that year how to beat was the Peyton Manning Colts because the Chargers always had Peyton Manning's number. Always. Okay? The Chargers had no chance against that defense. And traveling into the snow, nope. Just ask them when they played New England. They had no chance that year. Let's go to the AFC Championship that year. They played the Ravens. Now, they played them close both times in the regular season. I get it. But there was no way a rookie quarterback in Joe Flacco was beating that team in Heinz Field with veterans that were mostly Bill Cowher's guys. They were not losing that game to Joe Flacco and them. No way. And that '08 Ravens defense was really awesome. They were not the 2000 Ravens. No way. Now, I'd probably put the '08 Steelers close to the easiest that we've seen within the last 35, 40 years. But I'm going to say they're up there. The '99 Rams, they did play the Vikings, but we all knew the Vikings had no defense. And they were playing an all-time great offense, which was the '99 Rams, right? So, yeah, it would be an offensive shootout, which it was. Go look at the box score of that year. But we all knew that the Vikings were never going to stop the Rams in '99. It was never going to happen, okay? Because they let the fucking Falcons score 30 in the championship game. And granted, Gary Anderson, all he has to do is make a field goal. We get all that. But I'm saying they gave up 30 to the Falcons. 30 to the Vikings. Yeah, 30 to the Falcons. Vikings defense in '98. They gave up 49 to the Rams in '99. They had no chance to stop that greatest show on turf. The Bucs with Sean King. Now, they had one playoff win to that point, and they really didn't have an offense. It was just Mike Allstott and then a bunch of okay players. It was mostly a really good defense. And I love those guys on that defense. Okay, Warren Sapp, Derek Brooks, Rondé Barber, John Lynch. I don't think Rondé Barber was in the league. No, he was. I think Rondé Barber was in the league at that point. Okay, they had a really good defense. Okay, but it was one throw that, to Ricky Prohl, coincidentally, that won them the game. But the Bucs with Sean King, really, that is, no. And then the Steve McNair Titans. Come on. Now, who else would I put up there? I mean, maybe the '98 Broncos, because the Dolphins really, with not really a good team they built around Marino, who got smoked in New England the year before, and that was one of Marino's worst playoff games. The '98 Broncos, especially losing in Miami, they weren't losing that Mile High to Miami. No shot. The Jets, they did play them tough through 3 quarters, but it was very hard to believe to me that the Broncos would lose to the Jets. And then they were not losing to Atlanta in the Super Bowl. No way. I'd probably the '98 Broncos maybe up there in that second tier. And then, I don't want to say they had an easy path, but when you look at the Super Bowl and how it ended up, it kind of comes up there. But it's more about how great that defense was. And again, both of these were great defenses, so I don't want to discount them in any way. I'm going to be honest, I can't say that the 2000 Ravens or the '85 Bears had easy playoff runs just because their defenses were so dominant. Like, nobody had a chance against those defenses. Nobody. So I can't even say that. But really, I gave you guys like 5 or 6 good examples. The 2019 Chiefs, 91 Redskins, 89 49ers, 99 Rams, 98 Broncos, 08 Steelers. 6 teams who had an easy playoff path. And everybody's saying that the New England Patriots right now are on pace to have the easiest path to the Super Bowl ever. Fuck out of here. Fuck out of here, dude. Okay? Now, I know I went off topic, but I'm trying to make a point. The national discourse has completely flipped. We should be giving the New England Patriots credit for how well their defense has played through 2 playoff games. We really should be doing that. Okay? Because they made the Chargers look completely inept of blocking Justin Herbert. But we all knew from jump, I've said it since the opening episode of the season, the Chargers offensive line was in trouble from the jump. Okay? But they still put up 6 or 7 sacks on the Chargers. That is still impressive. Okay? I don't care what Justin Herbert's playoff thing is, because at the end of the day, what you do on the field has to matter. It has to matter. And that defense played phenomenal. Okay? Now, the Texans. Everybody told me that they are on the same category as those defenses I've been mentioning earlier. No, they were not. But because they lost, the whole thing was, everybody kept saying, well, CJ Stroud's not going to play bad, except yours truly. I said, New England, magic number to get to 23. Oh, wait, guess who had the score almost right? 28-16 was the actual live score. I said 23-16. Rich Ball Index. Rich Ball Index in here. Okay? Now, again, 4th and 1 starting the game. That was great. Loved it. It was gutsy. And I thought, honestly, it was one of the biggest plays in the game. Sean Booty with that one-hand snag in the 4th quarter to seal the game. Oh my God. That might have been maybe the best non-Super Bowl catch in Patriots playoff history. Now, the best Super Bowl catch in Patriots history was Julian Edelman's. Don't get at me like this. It was the best Super Bowl catch in Patriots playoff history. Julian Edelman's was. This was the best non-Super Bowl catch in Patriots playoff history. Sean Booty did, that one-hand snag like that. That was nice, man. That was nice. I was like, okay. And I need to give Marcus Jones serious props, because that dude has had, in my opinion, a first-team All-Pro season. How he was not first-team All-Pro is criminal to me. And honestly, that pick 6, that was one of the key plays in the game. Now, the thing I think we have to also recognize too is New England, to me, has not played their best game yet in these playoffs. And it's still upon them. And it's kind of crazy to think that, they're winning ugly, they're winning sloppy, and yet they haven't played their best game yet. And I'm going, I feel good about this. I feel good about what I'm seeing. Because, Mike Vrabel, he's been there as a player. I knew that when we hired him, I was like, he gets what it's like to be a Patriot. He knows what it was like. He helped build a Patriot way. Now he's got his own stamp on it that makes him different. And players love playing for him. They go to war with him, and it's great. They love playing for him, and you can see it's infectious on the field. You can see it feels like a team. And honestly, I know people are going to say, well, Nico Collins was out. Dalton Schultz got hurt mid-game. It obviously changed the whole game. I'm not discrediting that, but you had to have known that with Trent Brown being out in the game, and then they get another backup right tackle hurt, the Texans' O-line was equally as bad for the last 2 years as the Chargers' offensive line was this whole season. It was. Nobody wants to talk about that, though, except me. But you know what? The New England defense has been playing great in this postseason run. It really has. And honestly, we need to give them some real flowers about how well they've been playing. From getting after the quarterback, from getting takeaways. CJ Stroud had a Peyton Manning type game in the 0-3 championship game. Ty Law, 4-pick game. That defense played absolutely phenomenal for 2 straight games. And honestly, now the big test for them is going to be on the road. Can they go do it in Denver, where the New England Patriots are undefeated on the road so far this season? And I think the best of Drake May has yet to be shown this postseason, and I think you're going to get it soon. And I feel like that him learning to be a game manager isn't a bad thing. But to the social media, Twitter know-it-alls, they think it's a bad thing. No, it's not. A win is a win at the end of the day. I don't care how you get it done. Hey, it ain't like, we're asking the refs to win. Chief bandwagons. Yep, that was you. Yep. Now it's my turn to be insufferable. It's my turn to be nauseating. It's my turn to be delusional. Let me tell you what right now, man. The New England Patriots, man. We're one game away from the big boy. One game away. And you know what's funny? We go back to the AFC Championship game the one year you don't even make the playoffs. And it's getting really close to you bandwagons' national nightmare happening. It's real close. I'm not going to say what it is because I'm not going to be that hex. I'm not going to be that jinx. Nope. But it's close. Drake May is on his way to being the next great New England quarterback, hopefully. He's on his way. Halfway there, though. Got to get by Denver, though, this week. Don't get invested in the rat poison, as Nick Saban calls it. Because everybody's saying whatever. I'm not going to do it. I just have to address the media for how bad they are covering this. And it's kind of lame from, from Rex Ryan saying that, 31 other quarterbacks would have won that game yesterday. Come on, Rex. No, they would not. You guys can't even give credit to the New England Patriots defense. You guys can't even give credit to the fact that Drake May hasn't played well, yet he still threw for 3 touchdowns against a top defense in the league. Do you guys see what I'm saying? That drives me nuts, man. Give the Patriots defense credit. They won the game. I mean, Mike Vrabel's turnaround is continuing to be so impressive. And honestly, I'm going to enjoy every day of the season as long as I've got it. And I'm not apologizing for winning games in this league that ugly, sloppy. A win's a win at the end of the day, and you can't take that away. To the Texans. Now, listen. Even though they were down significant offensive weapons, they have to get CJ Stroud protection. They have to get an O-line built around him. It was the same problem last year that happened this year. And he looked completely flustered. His clock sped up so crazy. And even though that defense played really, really well yesterday, they really did. And I will give that defense credit. They really, really played well. That offense needs to get an offensive line because they need to protect CJ Stroud. If they don't, they will never go anywhere crazy. You need to get him to be able to protect. I think it's completely wrong to say that he should have competition with Davis Mills. No. Don't get me wrong. Did he not play well? No. He didn't play well. But to say that when the guy has won 3 playoff games in this league in his first 3 years, that's hard to do. I'm sorry. That is completely wrong. That is completely not even remotely accurate to what the national media is saying. They're mad because all these ESPN pundits got their pick wrong, and they can't even admit when they're wrong. That's sad. That's sad that they can't even admit that they're wrong. Now they got to resort to this. CJ Stroud should not be benched for Davis Mills. He should be able to develop like other guys have. And to win 3 playoff games in 3 years is hard to do. He played bad yesterday. But I also know that if he had some offensive line, I don't think he would be this poor yesterday. I don't think he would. And that offensive line's been bad now for 2 straight years. Call it what it is. Now, DeMeco Ryans, he's got them going in the right track. Okay? Now they've got a big hurdle they've got to figure out. How do they get past the second round? And it's not going to be easy when you look at the AFC now building for the future-wise. And especially with who you know is coming back and who is building something, that's important to note. But the Texans, I don't want to say wasted a historic defense, but their biggest weakness caught up to them, to a team that played better than them. And honestly, the better defense, the Patriots, in this game showed why they won the game. And I'm not saying the Texans defense did not play great. They did everything they could. But their biggest weakness was the offense. It got exposed at the worst possible moment for them. And honestly, that's what needed to happen. That's what needed to happen for the Patriots to win. And honestly, their offensive line sucked. Their receivers got banged up. And the New England defense capitalized. Give the Patriots defense credit. Do not listen to the national media who wants to make excuses and cry and complain about CJ Stroud's bad game, because that's what they're going to make the story, because they can't accept the fact that New England is back. And it's closer to that dynasty being reborn again. It's close. Let's get to the last game of the weekend. The Rams and the Bears. An overtime game that, honestly, I lost with the over. Okay? It was a bad beat, especially those who bet alternate totals. That's me. I was very surprised Ben Johnson went for it on fourth down early in the game, and he did kick 3. Because I just want to say this. If you kick the 3 early, we're having a whole different conversation. And the Bears defense, honestly, for a little bit in that game, through 3 quarters, they gave Matthew Stafford fits. Like, I had never seen him get fits this whole year. And I'm like, wow. A defense that I've said last week was not very good. They got after Matthew Stafford. They pressured him. Dennis Allen confused him a lot in that game. And I think Mike McDonald's looking at that film today going, I like our front a lot better than the Bears. But I'll say this, I could get Stafford into some different looks. And I think that's something that the Rams got to watch out for on Sunday, because that's a recipe where they're looking at that secondary who, again, the Bears receivers got open against them. They did. But now you got this. Little pieces to the puzzle are getting put together on how you slow down Matt Stafford, okay? And how you beat the Rams. And Seattle's looking at this, I'm sure, today in the film room. I'm sure of it. I was really impressed with how Dennis Allen was able to scheme ways to get Stafford confused with looks. They didn't really have many big explosive plays outside of the opening drive touchdown. And I think that when they ran the ball with Kyron Williams, they had some success going. And then the Bears offense, really outside of the second quarter, they could not do anything up until the fourth and prayer that Caleb Williams threw to force overtime, where I was like, okay, very few guys in that league can make that throw if forced to. And the only other guys I can think of that can make that throw, maybe in their prime, would be Rodgers, would be Mahomes. And then I had 2 other guys in mind where I'm like, maybe they can make that throw, maybe. I don't know if John Elway can make that kind of throw. I think he maybe could have. And then maybe Josh, maybe. I don't know. But definitely Rodgers and Mahomes can make that throw. Maybe Owen, maybe Josh Allen, maybe. I mean, that's up there for sure. Very few guys can make that throw. But what a throw by Caleb Williams. I would argue throw of the year. Throw of the year. And then he turned back into the turnover machine that I was like, Caleb, you ruined the damn storyline of the 2024 QBs to start in a championship game. I'm like, Caleb, I don't mind the throw, but you let him horribly because the safety undercut it. And I'm like, that's going to haunt you for a while. But they are building something nice over there. I mean, but you just go, those little plays, you got to learn. Decide a game. And Caleb Williams is going to learn. He's in year 2. You got to learn that those plays decide wins and losses, especially in a game of this big of a magnitude in the playoffs. One play survives, the other play sends you home. You got to know those plays. And it hurts, but the Bears at the end of the day, offensively, they struggled up until that second quarter, and then that one drive late in the game. And I think that, honestly, Ben Johnson has plays that I'm sure he wants back after this game. To the Rams. Now, I think the Rams winning a cold weather game, that's big for them, for sure, because they've not been good in cold weather up until last night. And I think that when I look at how this game unfolded for them, they have a running game. It's just McVay at times gets pass happy where I go, Sean, you do have a running back duo that's nice. You just got to learn to run it. And these are the reasons why I don't bet against Sean McVay, is because I know he knows what he's got and he knows when to use it. The problem is I think he gets sometimes too pass happy where he wants to use Matthew Stafford too much, and it costs him at certain times. And I think that Seattle is going to present interesting challenges to them because both of those games are close. Stafford didn't play well the first matchup, but he played much better the second go around. And I feel like that, to me, you get a little too pass happy at certain moments, and I'm like, you got the ball with the two backs. Hand it off to Kyron in cold weather. It's not your day throwing. And I think he realized it late. But the Rams, once again, proved why I thought they might have had the easiest path in the NFC at the beginning. I know you're probably like, well, Rich, they probably would have had to go to Chicago, Philly. Yeah, well, they also could have went to Seattle, and it didn't happen. But, hey, they took advantage of a really nice path as well, and they've won 2 nail-biting games, and now they got another tough one against Seattle, which is going to be a very fun matchup, as will watching my Patriots play the Broncos, right? So, in my opinion, we have the 4 best teams in, and after next week, we'll have the big game set up, and we'll have a lot to cover in that. But that is the recap of Divisional Round Weekend, my thoughts and analysis, but that will be it. So, later in the week, I will have the championship game picks, and I'm looking to squeak in a college basketball top 25 for Friday. I'm going to put it together. I might not do the tier list, but I'll let you guys know. So I'm thinking Friday, championship game picks for the NFL, and we're going to do a college basketball updated top 25. I can fit it in for Friday, and that way that'll cover that episode for that. And then Monday, we start predicting how the Super Bowl will pan out along with some of the awards. That's what my game plan is. We're looking to have a couple of guests in studio by then, so you do not want to miss out. Thank you so much for following Lounge. Thank you so much for watching Lounge Time. Make sure you guys hit that like button, that subscribe button, that notification bell. That way you guys can get all the latest content for the remaining bit of this NFL season, because we have a lot to cover, and we've got March Madness content coming up after the Super Bowl that you do not want to miss out. I had a fun time doing March Madness content last year. Do not want to miss out on that. You can also follow Lounge Time on Rumble. We're looking to build our fan base there. All you got to do is hit a follow, and you guys will get episodes just like they are going live on YouTube. All right. You can also follow me at Lounge Time Pod on X. Yes, if you have a question for me on the championship games, any of the recent divisional round games, your team's future in the NFL, I'll answer it. All you got to do is just tweet at me, and I'll give you a couple minutes on the show to talk about it. Since we're kind of getting down a lower bit of these teams, I mean, it could be clutch if you do have a question, but I'll answer it. All right. Guys, thank you so much for tuning to Lounge Time. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. I will see you guys on Friday, where I break down the AFC and NFC championship games and have a new college basketball top 25. Until then, I'll see you guys on Friday.